The wind cuts like a razor across the frozen spine of the world. It whips over the cracked, iron-hard earth of a remote Korean hilltop. A sliver of a moon hangs in the ink-black sky, offering no warmth, only a pale, ghostly light. Down below, in a shallow scrape of earth, a young man's breath plumes in the frigid air. This is Korea. The year is 1950. The date, etched in ice and memory, is November 27th. The man's knuckles are white as he grips the wooden stock of his rifle. He is a corporal in the United States Army, a soldier of the 17th Infantry Regiment. His name is Charles Barker. His eyes, narrowed against the cold, scan the oppressive darkness that pools in the valley below. This forsaken piece of high ground has a name on a map, Hill 1051. To the men dug in here, it is simply the edge of everything. They are a thin line of weary soldiers pushed deep into the hostile territory of North Korea. The war, once a rapid advance, has stalled, frozen in the grip of an unforgiving winter. A new, ominous rumor whispers on the wind, a rumor of a vast, unseen army pouring across the border. A soldier nearby shifts his weight, the crunch of his boots on the frozen ground unnaturally loud in the silence. Another pulls the collar of his coat tighter, his face a mask of exhaustion and apprehension. They are tired, they are cold, and they are terribly far from home. Corporal Barker adjusts the bipod of his weapon, settling it firmly on the lip of his foxhole. It's not just any rifle. It is a Browning automatic rifle, a heavy, 20-pound beast of steel and wood. The bar. In his hands, it is the anchor of their small section of the line, a promise of overwhelming firepower. He runs a gloved hand over the cold metal receiver, a familiar, reassuring gesture. The silence stretches, becoming a weight, a physical presence on the hill. Every shadow seems to move. Every gust of wind sounds like a footstep. Then a new sound drifts up from a valley. Is faint at first, a distant metallic bleat, like a strange bird call. A bugle. The sound is alien, chilling, and it is answered by another, and then another. Whistles slice through the night air. A low murmur begins to build, a sound unlike machine or artillery, the sound of 1,000 hushed voices. Eyes strain in the darkness. Fingers find the cold steel of triggers. The murmur grows into a rumbling, a deep, guttural chant that seems to rise from the earth itself. Then the darkness moves. It is not an advance, it is an inundation. A tide of figures, clad in quilted cotton uniforms, emerges from the tree-line below. They are a dense, rolling mass of humanity, a wave of men flooding the base of Hill 1051. There's no cover, no tactical maneuvering, just a relentless, forward surge. This is the human wave attack. The first American flares pop high overhead, casting a terrifying, flickering magnesium glare across the scene. The hillside is revealed to be crawling with soldiers, a sea of determined faces turn upward. The order to fire is a desperate shout, nearly lost in the rising. Corporal Barker leans into his weapon, the cold metal stock pressed hard against his cheek. He sights down the barrel, picks a spot in the center of the advancing mass, and squeezes the trigger. The bar roars to life. A stream of heavy .30-06 rounds rips into the night, the weapon bucking violently against his shoulder. Muzzle flashes strobe across the hill, illuminating the chaos for a split second at a time. Brass casings eject in a golden arc, landing hot on the frozen dirt. All along the line, rifles and machine guns open up, tearing into the front ranks of the attack. The wave falters, men falling in tangled heaps, but it does not stop. More figures simply climb over their fallen comrades, their momentum seemingly unbreakable. The air grows thick with the smell of gunpowder and hot metal. Shouts and screams in languages a world apart mix into a single, horrifying chorus. Barker fires in controlled bursts, traversing his bar back and forth, cutting down swaths of the attack. His face is a mask of intense concentration, his jaw set, his eyes fixed on the relentless tide. The first wave reaches the wire in front of the American positions. They are cut down, but their bodies form a bridge for those behind them. The pressure is immense, the sheer weight of numbers threatening to crush the defenders. Suddenly, the wave breaks. The bugles sound again, a call to retreat, and the attackers melt back. Into the shadows. A deafening silence descends upon Hill 1051, punctuated only by the cries of the wounded. Smoke hangs heavy in the air, a bitter fog that stings the eyes. A soldier next to Barker slumps against the wall of the foxhole, his breathing ragged. Barker doesn't pause. His hands move with practiced efficiency, pulling the empty magazine from his bar. He slams a fresh, heavy magazine into place, the click of the metal echoing in the quiet. He scans the darkness, his weapon ready. There is no relief, no celebration. Only the cold, certain knowledge that this was just the beginning. The lull lasts only minutes. The whistles and bugles sound again, this time closer, more numerous. The second wave emerges from the darkness, larger and more determined than the first. They surge forward, a silent, disciplined mass that seems to absorb the defenders' fire. The fighting becomes a desperate, close-range struggle. Grenades arc through the air, their explosions throwing up geysers of dirt and shrapnel. Tracer rounds, red and green, stitch fiery lines across the battlefield. Corporal Barker is an unmovable rock in the center of the storm. His bar is a constant, hammering presence, its rhythmic roar a point of defiance against the chaos. The barrel of the weapon begins to glow a dull, menacing red in the darkness. He ignores the heat, ignores the exhaustion searing his muscles. He just fires. The Chinese soldiers are at the American lines now, pouring into the trenches. The fight dissolves into a brutal swirl of individual combats. A bayonet glints in the pale moonlight. A rifle but swings in a desperate arc. The perimeter is shrinking, the thin line of defenders is being bent, then broken. One by one, the positions around Barker go silent. His foxhole is now an isolated island in a sea of enemies. They swarm his position, drawn to the relentless thunder of his automatic rifle. He doesn't flinch. He keeps firing, cutting down attackers as they try to climb over the lip of his foxhole. The heavy brass casings pile up around him, a small mountain of spent ammunition. His world narrows to the few feet of frozen earth in front of him. The stock of his rifle, the faces of the enemy, the steady, rhythmic buck of the weapon in his hands. He is no longer just defending a hill. He is a single point of resistance, a final, furious statement of will. He knows his position is overrun. He knows he is alone. And still he fires. The Browning automatic rifle continues its deadly work, a fulcrum of destruction until the last possible moment. Then, in the heart of the raging battle, the roaring of the bar finally stops. A sudden, shocking silence takes its place. The position of Corporal Charles Barker is finally completely overwhelmed. Dawn breaks over Hill 1051, a cold, gray light that reveals a scene of utter devastation. The ground is scarred and blackened, littered with the terrible debris of a desperate fight. A light dusting of snow has begun to fall, a soft white blanket over the hard edges of the battlefield. The battle is over. The surviving soldiers of the 17th Infantry Regiment slowly, cautiously, begin to retake the high ground. They move through the eerie silence, past the abandoned equipment and the still forms of friend and foe. They reach the forward positions, the foxholes that bore the brunt of the human wave assault. They find the spot where Corporal Barker made his stand. He lies in his foxhole, his silent Browning automatic rifle beside him. But it is the scene around him that stops the weary soldiers in their tracks. Arranged in a grim semicircle around his position are the bodies of the enemy. One soldier begins to count, his voice a low, stunned whisper. They count 27 fallen Chinese soldiers, all lying within the effective range of that single, final fighting position. He had fought until he was physically unable to fight anymore. His stand, a moment of impossible bravery, had bought precious time and blunted the spearhead of the attack on this small sector of the front. For this act of extraordinary heroism, for his refusal to yield in the face of insurmountable odds, Corporal Charles Barker was awarded his nation's highest honors posthumously. His body was returned home, but his spirit remains on that cold, wind-swept hill in Korea, a testament to the soldier who stood his ground until the very end, a lone guardian against the tide. Tell me your favorite war story I should talk about next. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video.